Today, I'm sharing with you my three-part sales call framework for photographers and videographers. Now, after hundreds of client sales calls and hundreds more deals closed in my photo and video business, Peta Productions, I've learned a thing or two about landing high-paying clients through sales calls. I used to be the quiet, shy kid, and the thought of getting on a sales call scared me. Turns out, you don't need to be naturally good at sales to succeed. You just need a system and a willingness to work. Now, let's break it down. It has three parts. Part one is the qualification stage, part two is the gap stage, and part three is the solution stage. I'll break down these in a minute here, but by the end of this video, you'll know how to run client calls with confidence, even if you're introverted. You'll stop winging it and follow a proven structure that works. You'll position yourself as an expert and not just another creative. And most importantly, you'll close more high-ticket projects without feeling salesy. Now, I'll show you why most photographers and videographers fail at client calls. I'll share the mindset shift that changed everything for me. And finally, I'll walk you through my three-part framework that makes every call feel like a natural conversation. So why do most creatives fail? Well, first, they try and wing these sales calls. They don't have a proven structure for the calls. They just approach it as any other conversation. But the truth about sales calls is that you need some sort of structure, a clear path to follow, and ideally some sort of script that you can follow through the call so that you structure the call in a way that makes it easy for you to close the client at the end of the call. The second problem I see all the time is photographers and videographers, well, they focus on themselves rather than the client. Now, yes, a sales call is selling your service, but on these calls, you want to learn about the client. You want to learn about their problems, their struggles, what's keeping them up at night. You only want to present your service and your solution when it makes sense. You want to map your service and solution to their struggles, and to do that, you have to learn about them. You have to ask them questions. Now, problem three, a lot of creatives just lack confidence and they don't want to come off as salesy. And this was me for the longest time. I thought that sales calls were all about trying to pressure the lead into making a decision and using these really scummy sales tactics to get them to work with you, when in reality, a sales call is really more of a discovery call. It's kind of like a matchmaking process. You're trying to figure out if this client is a good fit for you and if you're a good fit for the client. So the point of the call is to get the client to make a decision by the end of the call, whether it's a yes or a no. Your goal is to just get them to make a decision. And that's how we should frame our sales calls. The point of the call isn't to kind of like pressure them into buying. The point of the call is to help them make a decision that's best for them. And that's kind of like what the mindset shift should be here. So we have to shift our mindset from the Wolf of Wall Street guy to someone who can actually help clients and solve their problems here. Remember, we're not trying to sell, we're trying to solve problems. That's how we should frame it in our head. Now, yes, we're going to collect money at the end, at the start of a project here, but our goal is to solve the client's problems, not necessarily to sell them as hard as possible. Now, a lot of people are nervous on sales calls. I was super nervous when I first started doing these, but the reality is when someone gets on a call with you, part of them wants to buy. You've reached out to them via email. Maybe they came in as a lead through Instagram or LinkedIn, and they're in your world now, and they agreed to hop on a call. And people are smart. They know on calls like this, you're going to try and pitch them something. So part of them knows this and part of them wants to buy. Your job is to help them make a decision on that call. Part of them wants to buy. Ideally, you find the problems and you map yourself as the perfect solution provider for these problems, and you pitch yourself at the end of the call like that. So strap in. I'm going to walk through each of these steps here, but I want to share my framework with you, the framework that I've used on all my calls, and the same framework that I teach today inside of my education company, Creative Biz Launch. That's my client acquisition system for photographers and videographers. Now, this framework, I said it was three parts at the start, but it's actually 9 steps. So each of these 3 parts has 3 steps inside of it. 3 times 3 equals 9. So first is the setup stage. So as soon as someone joins your Zoom call, you want to set up the call. So you're gonna have like 1 to 2 exchanges of small talk, like, hey, how's it going? How's your week been? Don't do too much small talk here. You're not trying to become their best friend here. You're trying to show them that you're a professional here. So keep the small talk relatively short. But the first thing that you're going to do is set up the call. So during this stage is you're going to pretty much walk through what the call is going to look like. You're going to set clear expectations for the call, and you're just going to tell them, hey, today I really want to learn more about what you're what your business is, what your goals are, what you're doing from a marketing end right now. And if I think I can help you, I can show you what that would look like at the end. Cool. Something along those lines. That should be pretty simple, a pretty simple way to kind of set up the call. Now, once the call is set up, the next part is actually learning about who their target customer is. By doing this, you're really showing them that you're invested in whatever goals they have, even before they've even told you about whatever goals they have. So in this customer stage, you're going to tell them, hey, I researched a bit about your brand. I checked out your website, checked out your socials, love what you're doing there. Can you tell me more about who your target market is? So what this does, it instantly differentiates yourself from other creatives who just want to tell the client how good their photos are, how good their videos are. You're asking them questions about who their target market is so that when you're mapping to solutions later, you can bring this up again. So the person, whoever you're on the call with, they're going to talk about who their target market is, what they're doing right now from a marketing end, how they're trying to reach that customer. And you're taking notes, you're remembering all of this so you can bring it up later. Part 3. Now, part 3 is going to be the qualification stage. So you've had a bit of small talk, you've set up the call, they've told you who their customer is. At this stage, you want to make sure that the client that you're talking to is actually someone that can become a client for you, right? You don't want to waste your time here with people who are never going to buy from you. You want to make sure that they can actually become a client in your business. So that's what the qualification stage is. So here you can simply ask, what made you want to get on the call today? And they're going to tell you why they decided to hop on this call, right? Because no one just randomly hops on sales calls. There's a reason why they hopped on this call with you, and you're going to learn that here. Now, most people stop at just asking why they hopped on the call, but what I want you to do is actually ask them, is this a priority now or is this a later thing? So what this does, it actually puts the ball back in your court, and you can know whether or not this might be a project today, or maybe this will be a project 6 months from now. So knowing whether or not this is a priority for the business is going to affect how the sales conversation goes. So this is kind of stage 1. We've walked through the setup, the customer, and we qualified them. If they're not qualified, you can end the call here, but I usually just keep on going, honestly, just for practice and to maybe get them in your world later on. But we've qualified them. Part 2 is the gap. So let me explain what this is. We're stretching the gap. We want to learn where they're at currently, where they want to go, and what's been preventing them from getting there. So it starts with results. So what results do they want? What is their goal 6 months from now, 12 months from now? What are they trying to accomplish in their business? What are their marketing efforts trying to accomplish? Are they launching new products, right? We want to learn about their goals. We also want to try and quantify what the potential impact of a project together is. So what this does, it starts the ROI conversation early on here. So return on investment. If they invest money with you, how much are they going to get back? So you can ask them something like, if we knock this out of the park, what would success look like for you? And they're going to start talking about what the ideal outcome is of working with you, what they really want from you, without you having to really ask it in a very probing way. You're just asking what success would look like for them. So they're going to tell you, oh, well, we'd love to have like social media assets for the next 30 days on our calendar. Whatever they say, remember this, right? And then if you can also ask them what kind of financial impact this would have on the business, or what the impact would be if this was like a 10 out of 10 project. They might tell you a number, they might not, but regardless, it's good to have this baseline here, knowing like where they want to go, where they want to end up if this was an ideal project for them. Now let's map back to reality. So this is, I guess we're on step 5 of this 9-step sales process. We want to ask them where they're currently at. So we know where they want to go. We know what their ideal outcome is. Where are they at currently? So they're going to tell you what they're currently doing, what they're doing from a marketing end. And you're going to ask questions like, hey, are you running paid ads right now? Are you doing social content? What are you doing from a marketing end? And you want to ask them these questions to kind of probe them and see where you can come in and help them, because they're going to probably open up about their struggles. They're on this call with you because they're struggling with something. So they might open up about their lack of being able to produce consistent content. Maybe the quality isn't there. Maybe their sales are down. Maybe whatever it is, they're going to tell you what their struggles are here. And this is probably the most important part of the call, because they're opening up to you. They're being a bit vulnerable here. And this is where you can think of potential solutions later on. So what we've done so far is we figured out where they want to go, where they're at currently, And step 6 here is going to be to figure out what's been getting in the way. So roadblocks, right? We got results, we got reality, now roadblocks. They're here, they want to go here. What's been getting in the way of that? So you're going to ask them, hey, I know you said you want to be posting content consistently. What's stopping you from doing that right now? I know you said you want to update all of your website photography. Why haven't you done that already, right? And they're going to tell you, oh, well, we haven't found the right photographer, or maybe, oh, well, everyone we've talked to has been a bit out of our budget. Whatever they say, these are going to be the roadblocks that you can then map your offer back to. So they're going to tell you why they haven't been able to achieve the outcome that they want. And if done correctly, if you've asked these questions right, you're going to easily figure out ways to present your service in a way that maps back directly to what they're saying here. So listen exactly to what they're saying, listen and ask questions. And then the next step here is actually trying to sell your service. So I call this the solution stage, and it has 3 parts. It's got the model, it's got the offer, and it's got the enrollment. Okay, so let's break these 3 down. So this is where you actually talk about yourself a ton. Now you're gonna talk about how you can help them, your process, your model, how to enroll them, the next steps here. And this, up until now, the client has mainly been talking about themselves. Now, if you've been talking more than the client up until this point, that's a mistake. You want to be asking questions and listening, but you don't want to be talking a lot about your service yet. Okay, now this is the stage where you can begin talking about your service. So we've mapped out their problems, we've have solutions for those problems, and now you're going to ask them, hey, I think we can really solve this for you. Can I tell you a bit more about how our service works and what it would look like to work together? And they're going to be like, yeah, for sure. Because you actually listened to them, they told you about their problems, and now you're here to help them. So you're going to first start by talking about your model. So this is part 7 of this 9-step process. So the model is how you actually get your clients' results. So as soon as someone signs a proposal to work with you, what happens? You're going to walk through all those stages, the entire onboarding process, how you to generate ideas, the prep call, the fulfillment stages, the review process, whatever your process is, you're going to walk through your model here. And after you're done walking through your model, you're just going to simply say, hey, does that make sense so far? And they're going to say, yeah, this makes complete sense. That seems like a really streamlined process. And since you follow my videos and you're in the community down below, you know how to fulfill clients properly. You know the fulfillment pipeline that gets clients results. And you can share this on this call. Now, if you're not in my community, join below. It's free. There's free courses, really amazing creatives in there sharing a lot of great knowledge. So I'd love to have you in there as well. Okay, so after you've talked about your model, the next part is going to be the offer, right? So here is where you're presenting your solutions, your ideas, and your packages and pricing. So this is where a lot of people get caught up. Some people don't want to talk about pricing on calls, but as a creative, it's your duty to bring up your rates here so that you can handle these objections in real time as they come up, right? So what you're going to do in this stage, you've talked about your model already, but what you're going to do here is take their problems that they told you and you're going to map them back to whatever offer it is, right? So you already have an offer, hopefully. If you don't, go through my offers training on my YouTube channel, plus in that community down below, because I'll teach you how to create a high ticket package in there. And what you're going to do is take your package and map every single component of your package back to what problems they told you. Now, this is difficult to do, but it has a lot of potential to increase the amount of clients you're going to close, because every component of your package becomes a solution to a problem that they told you about here, which is a very advanced thing to do. And at the start, it's going to be difficult to do this on the spot. But with practice, it's going to get a lot easier. And at the end, once you've already named all of your solutions, you're going to tell them the price, right? You'll tell them how much it costs, and then you'll ask, do you want to move forward with this? You're just going to straight up ask them if they want to move forward with a project, right? And they're going to say, yeah, this sounds awesome. Send over a proposal. We'll get this started today. Usually isn't that easy. Sometimes it is, but they're going to bring up some objections. So the last part of the call is kind of the enrollment stage. So this is where you're kind of handling these objections in real time. So any objection the client brings up, you're going to follow a specific framework. You're going to agree with the objection. You're going to be like, hey, totally understand why you would say that. You're going to question the objection. So you're going to be like, just so I understand, is this what you're asking? Once you question the objection, you're going to try and handle the objection. So ideally for this stage, you will have past client examples that have had like similar objections to whatever this client is saying, and you can map back to those case studies, those client stories that you have. Say that your previous clients had these objections, and after working with you, those objections vanished because they got X results. So this is where case studies and previous client work really comes in handy, because you can talk about a very similar objections that have come up with previous clients, why those objections weren't really objections, and how you actually solved for that kind of objection after working together. So you're going to talk about the results they've gotten for other clients here. And that's kind of the best way I found to deal with objections. Now, if you want like scripts and all this stuff, I do have those inside of Creative Biz Launch. So if you're interested in that, definitely join that program. But after you've handled these objections, what I want you to do is ask for the sale again. So the last part here is to ask for the sale. So you ask again, would you want to move forward with this? So what you've done is you've agreed with the objection, you've questioned the objection, you handled the objection, and then you asked again whether or not they want to move forward with a project. And at this stage, it's kind of the end of the call. The clear next step here is to send them a proposal. So get them a proposal the same date of the call, pretty much no matter what. If they say, yeah, I want a proposal, send them a proposal. If they say, yeah, we're not sure about this, but we'd love to have a proposal on hand, send them a proposal. If they say, yeah, I'm not sure if this is a fit right now, maybe later, you still want to get that proposal to them so that they have something in the back pocket. Ideally, when you're sending proposals, they're very templated out so they don't take you much time to do. And even if it's like a soft no, send that proposal over, because you never know if it's going to turn into a multi-$1,000 deal, right? It's better to give them that than to not give them that. But the end of the call, the goal is to get that proposal to the client. And that's kind of for the sales process. The sales call process ends at least. Like once they get that proposal, you're following up a lot, but that's beyond the scope of this video. And one last thing I want to cover is how can we implement this in real life? So sales calls, very complex beast. There's a lot going on here. Try and remember the 3-step framework first, then dive into that 9-step framework, and then you can get more specific with like scripts and all of that. But really what you want to do here is get your reps in. You have to practice sales calls. That's how you get good at sales calls. That's how I got good at sales calls, is doing a lot of volume. So you can practice on friends, family, or ideally you can join my community for free and practice with other people in that group, schedule a sales call, post in the community, get on these calls, do mock sales calls, and that's how you can practice really quickly and get better, because every single sales call that you do, your goal is going to be to get 1% better. And the more and more you do, the more clients you're going to close, the more money you're going to make, the more happy you're going to be with your business, because you're going to be living your dream life as a photographer and videographer. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.